Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Lightning Talks. I'm Jade Britzman, graduate of RMIT Game Design and current QA at Big Ant Studios. And today we're going to talk about why I want to replace gamefeel with Ludic Prose, the prose of video games. Wow. So my research into Ludic Prose for my final undergrad paper didn't begin with hating gamefeel, but I was nursing a growing contempt for the term. So firstly, it's corporate. And commercial, it can be good, but corporate is bad. Game feel is for pitch decks, not for talking to collaborators. You will piss your programmer off if you're saying the game feel is bad. Make it good. There's so little room for an interesting game feel that falls outside of pure fun. Game feel is also a value judgment. This is perhaps the largest component to why I feel like game feel is a limiting framework. Game feel is so often talked about as if it's either good or bad. It's review talk rather than critical artistic value talk. And finally, it's separatist. Pretending that texture is just a games thing limits our ability to learn from other mediums. So story is just an experience. Narrative is what we usually mean when we say story, but we can have stories without plots. These stories aren't less sophisticated. Like music, they make us feel emotions without necessarily referencing specific events or narratives. Even Pac-Man generates drama, reversals of fate, tension, and resolution, and it does this without ever giving the ghosts lore. Because every medium has its own prose. Literature, for example, has sentence structure, word choice, grammatical syntax, paragraph pacing, and more. Cinematography is also a form of prose. Camera angles, scene lengths, cuts, framing, color, light. Because the thing is, it doesn't matter how good a book's plot and characters are. If the sentences are stilted and awkward and nothing flows right, we call it bad writing. We call it a bad book. Video games have their own ludic affordances that form the texture, mood, emotions, and rhythms of the game. In short, prose is the moment-to-moment textural experience of an artwork. I hope to encourage you to use more purposeful language when talking about the texture of your game. We've all heard a jump in a platformer described as floaty, but what other descriptions can we come up with? And for what other elements of games? A grappling hook, for example, can feel nippy, but it can also feel swishy. One might make your world feel antagonistic, and the other might make it feel inviting. Texture is world building. The ludology versus narratology debate is long since concluded. However, you will still find people describing themselves as story game makers or gameplay focused, but in truth, we all share the same practice. All of us are creating machines that generate experiences. If you're a writer who doesn't care about gameplay, you aren't being curious enough about your medium. You should investigate how you can use ludic affordances to accentuate your story. On the other hand, if you're a designer, you shouldn't be thinking in terms of just fun, because that's bad pacing. We need to provoke all kinds of emotions and textures through gameplay to make a well-rounded experience. We need to think in terms of micronarrative and video frictions. Stop asking what your player can do, start asking how they do it. Breath of the Wild and GURP both have climbing mechanics, but they're hardly similar, are they? This game, In Other Waters, accentuates the feeling of being on an alien planet by further alienating how we interact with the game. Flip, click, and drag dials and switches to navigate a truly alien-feeling planet. Almost every horror game knows that combat should be a mixture of crunchy, but also soupy. Explosions of gritty violence punctuate inconsistent swaying and heaving to make combat feel chaotic, uncontrollable, and therefore scary. Getting over it is maximally clunky, and it's on purpose. It's making an artistic point about failure. It would not be a good video game if it had good game feel. Instead, it has good prose. Micronarrative refers to all the moments like these in games. The tension and resolution between starting an action and finishing it. The texture of that tension is the art of video games. Whether you have a well-balanced combat system or a wonderful story or fantastic art assets, None of this stands alone. Just as with books or movies, if the prose is bad, it will always feel cheap. The prose is the moment-to-moment experience that the audience will engage with. So thank you. If you want to read the full essay and research that this was based off of, that's there. Those are my socials. I'm Jade.